grabbed tin cans and a napkin for this brilliant porch decor. I washed 3 tin cans from the recycling, removed the labels, and scuffed up the surface with a wire brush. I wiped clean with a cloth and spray painted the outside of each can with Rust-Oleum paint and primer white spray paint. While that was drying, I spray painted some metal chain black. I set that aside to dry. I used a small drill bit to drill 3 holes evenly spaced along the top edge of the tin can. I drilled holes in the same spots at the bottom edge and the same spots again at the very bottom of the tin can. Then I cut the napkins into smaller pieces and cut around the birds. I painted outdoor Mod Podge on the tin can, placed the napkin pieces on, and sealed it with more Mod Podge. I did this for all 3 tin cans, then used a nail to poke through the holes I drilled to make sure the glue didn't close them over. I let the cans dry, 24 hours is ideal, and hung it on my deck for the most beautiful hanging planter. Nobody would guess that this is made from recycled tin cans and napkins.
Do you have random faux flowers around your house that don't seem to go together? Start by organizing them by color and type of flower. Fill the bottom of the planter with floral foam, stacked vertically next to each other. Tuck them in tightly and fill as much of the planter as possible. Once the foam is snug in the planter, take wooden floral picks and press them into the floral foam with about an inch sticking out. Now, take more floral foam and press them on top of the floral picks so the block is secure and doesn't move. Next, create 4 to 5 bows from ribbon and floral wire. Once all the wire is secure, stick the wood pick into the side of a foam block in the planter. Now, let's add the flowers. Think in terms of color blocking so that similar flowers are placed in the planter together. Start with tall flowers in the back and then add shorter flowers in a contrasting color in front of them. Fill in empty spaces with faux greenery. I hope this inspired you to create a bold and beautiful DIY faux flower arrangement.
To get started, we are going to be using spackling. So I'm just taking a simple spackling knife. We're gonna spread it on all over the pot. What we're gonna do next is we're gonna do like a stamping technique using chicken wires. You wanna just kind of press it in all over, and then we're gonna remove it. And you can see here where it's just gonna give it a little bit of almost like a beehive look to it. So we're gonna go ahead and let them dry. I'm using an indoor-outdoor spray paint by Rust-Oleum, and this color is Heirloom White. So now that we have both coats of the spray paint dry, I'm gonna go in and I wanna add some of this multicolor texture by Rust-Oleum. I cannot believe how well these pots turned out. They turned out better than I expected, and they perfectly match the aesthetic of my house.
Now you want to make sure that your glass bowls are very clean. So I'm going to just hold it from the edge, and I'm going to take a gray Crayola crayon and I am going to draw right on my bowl. The next step is you want to take some silver glitter glue, and I'm going to paint my jar with the glitter glue in a crosshatch pattern. I'm going to be using these out of doors, so you definitely have to use some kind of a sealer. The next thing I'm going to do is take some fairy lights and put them right down inside of my jar. Make some of these glowing garden orbs for yourself and enjoy them all summer long. They'll bring magic to your garden, or even just to the pots of flowers that you have by your front door.
Look for flowers in a multi-pack that can be split apart. Take your laundry basket and drill several holes in the bottom with a drill. Line the laundry basket with a burlap bag or burlap fabric. Start to fill the burlap-lined laundry basket with potting soil. Fill to about an inch from the top of the basket. Cut the excess burlap from the top of the basket with some scissors. Starting with the second row of side basket holes, cut the plastic between 2 holes to create one larger hole. Then, cut out the burlap from that larger hole to access the dirt. Take one of your plants and plant it in the hole by pushing it into the dirt behind it. It helps to use your other hand to grab the plant as it comes through the hole and press dirt down around it on the inside of the basket. Once you have the sides of your basket planted, you can plant the top. Set your new planted flower basket outdoors and enjoy watching your flowers grow up the sides of the basket. The next time you are at your local dollar store, pick up some wire garden hanging baskets. Turn one wire basket upside down and place on top of a second basket. Secure together by using 3 zip ties that are placed equidistant from each other. Take a string of LED lights, hang the battery box inside the basket globe, and connect to the top. Turn the lights on and wrap the lights evenly around the globe, both vertically and horizontally. Secure the end of the light string to the basket using a twist tie. Using a leafy garland of your choice, start to tuck and glue the different leaves to the wire basket globe. Now, remember all those chains and hooks that you removed from the baskets? Let's put them to good use. Reconnect these chains of different lengths to the hooks and tighten the hook back together using some pliers. If you have a porch swing, here is a fun way to hang the globes without drilling additional holes into your porch ceiling. Thread the stick through your porch swing ceiling hooks to create a horizontal rod and hang your garden globes from the branch. Use your remote to turn the lights on and enjoy the warm glow of your new outdoor lighting.
And grab some planters right off the shelf, some primer, and some textured finish. We're going to go with this square base. So we're going to put some glue here right around the edges. I'm just going to wipe it around the edge just like this. Put it right on top. This waterproof container right here, flip it over. I can just take the glue now and just put it all inside here. Go ahead and take our pot, put it right inside there. We're going to go ahead and put some glue right on top. Want to make sure that we get it just centered perfectly. And I want to put on a good coat of primer. I went with an off-white cream color, get every square inch. Look at how good that looks right at your front door.
I grabbed 2 hanging baskets and liners from Dollar Tree for this epic garden project. I unclipped the chains off of one of the baskets and placed the liners in each basket. Next, I used sharp scissors to cut a slit in the middle of each section and in the center hole at the bottom. Then I grabbed some petunias from my local garden center and carefully placed them into each hole. Planting from the outside worked best for me. I set it aside and repeated the same steps for the second basket. Next, I filled the center of each basket with potting soil and watered it. I gently placed one basket on top of the other and secured them together using 4 black zip ties. At that point, I decided to add in a few more flowers on the edge where the baskets meet. Can you believe this is what mine looked like after 3 weeks?
Using a stencil or freehand, you can paint or use a Sharpie to draw on your numbers. Some glass rocks or any decoration inside you like. Add some water as it will amplify the light reflection. Pull your solar light apart and you only need the top piece. Place that inside the lid of the mason jar and screw the lids back on.
I've got this old glass table. Get it all cleaned up. I'm going to tape around all of the edges. Next, we're going to do that 2-part epoxy. We're going to pour it halfway down the table. Next, we're going to mix a little bit of teal. We're going to pour it out. We're going to go with a darker green. And you're going to start spreading out that white. Start getting rid of all that flaky paint. Start spraying it with some good spray paint. It was time to put on the darkest color we have. Put some more waves on and spread it all out. What a wonderful addition to the back porch.
I measured and marked the table in half, 8 even spaces. I piped the mastic into each bottle top and then applied them to the tabletop. I added the remaining tops. I mixed 2 cups of grout with half a cup of water. I used duct tape to make it edge. I spread the grout onto the top of the table and I cleaned away any excess grout. I sanded the edges smooth. Using mosaic sealer, I applied a liberal coat. I love the way the table turned out. I took the table apart, separating the glass from the metal ring. Laid the glass on top of the picture. I mixed 2 parts white glue to 1 part black craft paint. I outlined the sun. And once the lines had dried, I cleaned up any lines that were too thick by cutting them away using a utility knife. I painted the background using a 1-inch wide brush. I added designs to each panel. I gave the paint 2 coats of spray sealant. I used a medium grit sanding sponge. I painted the metal bright blue. The table looks great in our outside space, and friends can't believe that I painted it.
I went to Lowe's and picked up this large plastic terracotta looking pot. Give this a light sand. My decor currently is horizontal stripes, so that's why I'm gonna go ahead and do this and use the width of the frog tape and make this easy for myself. So I am gonna do some pink and white stripes on this. I'm just gonna go around and dot the edges of my pot with some silicone dots. Remove the tape. Line up my frog tape with my pink line. All right, so now that our white paint is dry, we are going to peel off our tape again. I'm just going to be using this Rust-Oleum matte clear coat. So here is the final table, and I could not be more excited.
To start, I'm going to need a wood crate, and I'm going to give this a good coat of paint here. So I'm going to flip that desktop over. Then I'm just going to drill some holes and add some screws. To dress it up, I'm just going to add a table runner, faux greenery, some lemons, and a few candles. I'm adding some cushions to the ground, and this makes the perfect outdoor seating area.
And grab some planters right off the shelf, some primer, and some textured finish. We're going to go with this square base. So we're going to put some glue here right around the edges. And I'm just going to wipe it around the edge just like this. Put it right on top. This waterproof container right here, flip it over. I can just take the glue now and just put it all inside here. Go ahead and take our pot, put it right inside there. We're going to go ahead and put some glue right on top. Want to make sure that we get it just centered perfectly. And I want to put on a good coat of primer. I went with an off-white cream color, get every square inch. Look at how good that looks right at your front door.
Get this clay pot sealer and give it a nice gentle spray. Give them a coat. This Rust-Oleum, this silicone glue, waterproof, flexible. Pull my jute rope right into it. So I'm going to do the same thing right there. Open up the silicone. Put this all around the top, centered right on there. There we have my side table. I think this is exactly what you might want to make this summer.
You want to pick up 2 bowls. Make sure they are ceramic or glass and that they are heat proof. I took them home and I'm going to give them a coat of spray paint. Once the paint is dry, these bowls have a really nice textured look. I'm just going to use some really strong glue to adhere them together. In the top bowl, I am going to add 3 wicks. I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue to secure them to the bottom. Then I'm going to grab 2 wooden skewers and wrap the wick around the skewers. This is just going to hold everything in place. Great way to make your own candles is to reuse existing candle wax. I have a couple of these Dollar Tree tall pillar candles, and I'm going to place them in some boiling water. Now make sure you're wearing gloves. These can get really hot. And I'm just going to gently boil this until all the wax is melted. Pour the wax from all the candles into a metal container with a handle. I'm opting to add a little essential oil for some scent. And now we're just going to pour that melted wax. Then you're going to want to walk away for about 24 hours. When it is completely set, you can trim the wicks down and use your candle. I hope this inspired you to grab a ceramic salad bowl from Walmart and make your own.
Separate the layers of a patterned paper napkin. Cut the paper napkin as needed. Now we are going to actually iron the paper napkin onto the taper. Heat and iron to medium-low heat, not too hot. Let the candle cool and start to use in your own home decor. Fill a heat-safe container with hot water between 100 and 110 degrees. Place a taper candle in the hot water and let sit for 10 minutes. Paraffin candle works best for this. After 10 minutes, pull the candle from the water and then wrap the candle in some wax paper. Take a rolling pin and press down on the middle of the candle. Once the middle section is flattened, take the candle and gently twist it into the shape that you want. When you get the twist that you want, place the candle in cold water and this will set the candle in its new shape. Then, have fun displaying your new twisted taper candle. Take painter's tape and tape off sections on a taper candle. Make sure that the edges are pressed down securely on the edges of the tape. Once taped off, paint light coats of acrylic paint in the open sections of the candle in the color or colors of your choice. Let dry completely. Try displaying them in odd-numbered groupings and vary the height of your candlesticks. A variety of colors, textures, and patterns make the display even more interesting and unique.
Start by breaking apart some pillar wax and add it to a pan to melt. After that, melt the mixture. A double boiler is ideal, but if you don't have one, you can use a baking tin or metal bowl on top of a pot with water. Next, grab some crayons and choose colors. Take off the paper and add them to the wax. After that, melt the mixture. Then, grab a recycled carton and unfold it. Cut 2 slits on either side of the top. Wrap the wick around a straw or chopstick to keep it in place. Then, grab some ice. Begin adding ice to the carton mold. Then, pour the wax over the ice and allow it to cool. Repeat this process in all different colors. After they have cooled, grab a towel and carefully cut and rip away the carton. Use them together for a fun party centerpiece or separate to add a pop of color all around your home.
I saw some candles from Pottery Barn. I thought it'd be fun to try making them myself. I'm going to put a little glue into a small container and then add a bit of paint. Now that I have the glue tinted, I'm going to paint it all over the glass dish on the outside. I'm going to leave these for a few hours before moving on. Using some Mod Podge, I'm going to paint it around the dishes. I can sprinkle the white glitter all over it, and then when it dries, the glitter will stay in place. I grabbed these pillar candles from the dollar store, and I'm going to melt them down. I'm just going to use a couple of skewers to hold the wicks in place. I want to add some essential oil to give my candles a beautiful scent. It's time to fill the glass dishes. The final thing to do is to remove the skewers and then trim the wicks. How pretty are these Pottery Barn inspired candles? They even smell as good as they look.
Today's project is going to start with this round solar light. First step we got to do, we got to cover it with tape. The reason is we don't want to damage or ruin the front part of this light. Once we got it covered in tape, we got to put a border around it. We can use just some hard paper or anything like that, cardboard, that will circle it up. Tape it and make sure it's snug but not too tight. You want to be able to separate that and give it about an inch to the top. Once we get it covered, go ahead and put some tape on the inside. We don't want any of our sand leaking out. Look at that. Next step, we're going to fill it with sand. You can use any kind of sand or anything like that that will fill it. Play sand also works the best because it also molds to the shape that you want it in. Once we got that covered, go ahead and lay down some saran wrap. About a 12-inch by 12-inch square will work, and we're going to fill that also with sand. Once we get a little bit in there, we're going to roll it all up as in make it into a little ball. Once we get it covered, go ahead and set it on top of our solar light and the sand. Next we got to do, we're going to mix some color into some concrete. I went with a red terracotta look. Pour some water in first, then the color, and then mix it all around. Once you get that, go ahead and add your cement. Now, this is really dusty. Always make sure you're working in an outdoor location. Pour your concrete in just like that and wear gloves. It'll dry out the skin. I hand mix it because it's not that much that we're making. Once you get it all mixed up, it's time to apply it to the light and the sand. Just goop it on there as if it's like Play-Doh. We're just going to cover it. Now, you want to be a little careful because the sand in the bag does move around a little bit. So once you get it covered and smoothed over, don't mess with it too much. We want that to dry like that. As you can see, it's looking like a little tiny rock. I'm going to add what we call the pig nose right on top. It's a little blob that we're going to put on because we need the light to sit on this. We also need it flat, so I grabbed a huge popsicle stick and just rubbed it all up and down just to make sure I get a really nice flat area, about 45 degrees to the top. Once it dries, we got a little rock, and look at that. Turn it over, and there's our light. But it's backwards. We need to take that out. Just go ahead and pop it out, and you're also going to pop out the sand. So pour that out into a bowl, take the bag out, and we're going to also clear all the tape and paper that was inside. Once we get it all cleared out, what we need to do then is we got to install our solar light. See, whenever you put your hand over it, it lights up. So go ahead and just put that in, and because we gave it a little bit of a distance, it moves. We can focus it any way we want. Now it's time to put it where we want it, and this one's going to go in my front garden. I'm going to move some of that bark mulch out of the way, put it in place, and look at that. When you walk up, it just looks like a rock. But I have a surprise. I want to light up my favorite mushroom that's out in front. And watch this, when the sun sets, it lights it up. That way anybody that walks up to my area can see my favorite decoration in the front yard.
I have this area in the front of my house that I want to beautify, but I've got a clean out valve that I kind of want to cover up. So I grabbed a bowl from the Dollar Tree and put it over to make sure it fits. Then I went to Home Depot and grabbed some spray foam. Next, what I'm going to do is put the bowl down on a garbage bag, and I'm going to grab the spray foam and start covering all the bowl up, every square inch. Now, spray foam is very sticky, so don't worry. Once you spray it on there, it's not coming off. You want to cover every bit of that bowl. What that is that's going to cause a cavity in our boulder that we can place over anything that we want to hide in the yard. And we're going to go layer over layer. Now, this took about 3 cans, but I want to make sure before I put the next layer on, that's a little bit dry to the touch. Just keep placing the foam on. Now, this foam does take a little bit to dry, so once you get it on, you want to give it about 24 hours. And there's the bowl stuck underneath. The next step is we got to carve the foam. In nature, it's not going to just be one big round ball for a boulder, so you're going to want to put some edging to it. So you can make it as random as you want. I like to cut little wedges out of the foam. That gives it a little bit of sharp edges, something you can help adhere the concrete to. Now you're going to shape this all over, twist it, turn it, just make it random. Like on this side, I want a little bit of a sharper edge. And I'm going to cut that off, and it cuts quite easy. Next step, I'm going to pour some water into a bucket. I'm using Cementol. Now, mix a little bit at a time. I probably mix a little bit too much here, but what we're going to do is mix it, and you're looking for not too runny, but not too hard. You want to be able to shape it and use it almost like a clay on top of the foam. Once you got it mixed up, go ahead and just start adding it to the foam. Fill in all the little gaps and everything. It does stick to it, so no worries there. Just go ahead and keep putting it on all over it. This is going to be our first layer, and so it can be a little rough. Go ahead and put it all over. Use any bits that fall off. All you're trying to do is fill it in and give that first layer look, and just keep smoothing it on. For the second layer, I made it a little more runny because what I want to do is fill in a little bit of the gaps and make the concrete a little bit thicker on there. Just go ahead and smooth it in and fix any little imperfections that you think you could fill. Now, if it looks a little rough, you can grab a chip brush, dip it in some water, and then you can start smoothing out the concrete that you put on. Don't go too rough on it, just smooth it out. That way you can have some smooth spots, rough spots, anywhere you want. Now let it dry, and then I took some black paint, watered it down, and I'm going to add a little bit of color to the rock. I do live in a desert area, so they're not just going to be all gray. So randomly use a sponge, just put some black on there. You can go with any color you want. I do live in a desert landscape, so I'm going to add some brown to it also. Make it look really good. Again, use any color you want. Once it's all colored up, it's time to place it in the yard. Now I'm ready to cover up the pipe that I want to have hidden, and it's time to go ahead and add some ground cover, and look at that. What a beauty. Just makes the front yard look better, and it looks like an actual boulder.
I'm going to be using this wallboard joint compound that you can get at any hardware store. It's about $7 or $8 for a tub this size, and a little goes a long way. And so you can see it goes on really easily. And so almost like you're icing a cake, just move it all the way around the surface and coat it. This is also a really fun technique to take old pottery or old glassware and give it some texture and paint it to upcycle some of those thrift store finds. Now that the joint compound is dry, you can see here that really all that is doing is it's adding some texture, and depending on the color of the planter that you're using, it's making it a lighter color underneath. And so I'm going to be using a caulking gun and this liquid nails Fuse It. So all I'm gonna do is take the caulking gun and put little dots of the glue in random spots all over the surface. It can be a little, it can be a lot. It does not matter if it's messy. This stuff is really sticky and can be kind of hard to work with. I'm gonna be going and putting mine in kind of sporadic places, but eventually I want this thing pretty well covered. Some other options for this would be to use the preformed rock backsplash tile sheets that they sell at department stores, but they do get kind of pricey if you're doing a bigger pot, which is why I opted just to use rocks that came out of my driveway for free. And so I'm just placing these on here, and I'll continue that process all the way over until these are filled. So here it is, fully covered. You guys can see that it takes a lot of time to get these attached, but this is kind of the look that you're going for. It's okay if you have some gaps here because you'll be filling those in, and you're also going to be covering up all of this adhesive, so don't worry about it looking messy. And I'm gonna cover that with this pre-mixed adhesive and grout that I got at the hardware store. Here's what the pre-mixed grout looks like when you open it. This one actually serves as an adhesive as well. So in theory, you could have used this for the base. I just opted for something else with a little more texture. And so there's really no right or wrong way to do it. I'm just kind of slathering that on and pushing that really deep down into the cracks and filling in all of those gaps. I'm gonna work in sections here a little bit. You can wear gloves if you don't like the texture of this on your hands, but you wanna make sure that you're shoving it down into those cracks and crevices because you do want some of that rock to be exposed once you're done. So you don't want it all to just sit there on the top. So once you get a good layer all the way around, go back in and make sure that you're filling in any of the gaps or the exposed adhesive. And you'll want to kind of round out your edge too to make it a little bit more like a pot, and get a little bit down into the inside there so that when you do have your plants in there, that gray isn't showing through as much. Now that the planter is fully covered, it's time to take it outside and wipe off some of that excess grout. So here I'm just using warm water in a bucket and a sponge, and I'm wiping all the way around the surface to get as much of that excess grout off as I can. And you can see the more that you wipe, the more of the rock that you're going to expose underneath. Now that I've wiped off as much of that excess grout as I can, I'm gonna go back in with just a slightly damp cloth, and I'm gonna keep wiping off a little bit more, and you can see how that color from the rock is coming through even more. And once I've got it to a point where I feel good about it, I need to set it out in the sun, let it dry and harden, and then the last step will be to go back in and take off some of the haze from the grout on the rock. After you've given the grout enough time to dry, it's time to do the final touch-ups. I'm just taking an almost dry cloth, going back in, and any of the stones that you want to darken up, just go in and kind of rub the excess off of that. If you're using it outside, I would definitely suggest doing some sort of exterior sealer and put your plant in, and you're good to go. Hope you guys have enjoyed this project. Thanks for watching Home Talk. See you next time.
Take 6 cardboard tubes from Amazon and hot glue them together in a circle formation. Next, take drywall spackle and a putty knife to apply it all over the cardboard tube's exterior. Take a 10-inch pizza pan and spackle over the pizza pan top and bottom. Take a piece of flat cardboard and use the cardboard tubes as a guide to trace around the shape. Cut out the shape and hot glue it to the top side of the cardboard tubes. Take a hot glue gun and use it to attach the pizza pan and the top of the cardboard tubes. There you have it, a cheap way to create your own easy modern DIY furniture for your home for less than $20.
You're going to start by flipping it over so the white side is facing down. On the back, I am using 2 paint sticks, and I'm going to hot glue them over the creases. This is going to give us one rigid piece of cardboard. So first up, I grabbed a really lightweight towel. So I've ironed out all the creases and then just fold it around the sides and hot glue it in place. This is a really beautiful kind of beachy look.
Take an X-Acto knife and remove the lid flaps. Take hemp rope and a hot glue gun to begin wrapping the rope around the box. Take twine and begin gluing it to the perimeter of the bottom of the box. Take balsa wood oval or circle shapes and paint them with black paint. Print words to be displayed on the side of the box. Cut them out and use pencil to cover the back of the paper. Then trace the font on the balsa wood. Use a chalkboard pen or a white paint pen to cover the pencil traced font. Use a hot glue gun to attach the labels to the side of the box. There you have it, an inexpensive way to create your own pantry storage for your home for less than $10.
CDs? I'll bet you've got a box of them stored somewhere. Using a free online template or drawing freehand, draw the shape of 2 butterflies of the exact same shape and size onto a piece of cardboard. Also, draw and cut a strip of cardboard that is about 1 inch in width and is long enough to completely wrap around your butterfly. Bend and curve the strip as needed and tape on the inside edge of the butterfly. Take the second butterfly cutout and tape it to the top of the cardboard strip. Once that edge is taped, tape the outer edge of the other side as well. Combine a 1-to-1 mixture of flour and water, and then add additional water to get the glue consistency that you want. Cut or tear strips of newspaper and begin to paper mache the outside of the butterfly box. Once dry, spray paint the paper mache butterfly with a metallic silver paint and let that dry. Grab your protective eyeglasses, safety first, and a pair of scissors. Begin to cut the CDs into small squares. Because they soaked in the warm water, cutting them will be slightly easier. Using a hot glue gun, begin to glue the square tiles to the butterfly. Once you have the front and back done, glue tiles to the sides. You can now set your new butterfly on a shelf or table, or hang it from a ceiling or from a tree in your yard.
I printed a deer design from my computer and traced it on a clear Ziploc bag. I cut a square hole in the cardboard box using a utility knife. Next, I taped the Ziploc bag design over the hole. Then, I placed the box in front of the wall. I turned my cell phone light on. I put it inside of the box at the opposite end as the design, and I closed the lid. Put covers over the windows. I traced the design on the wall using a pencil. Once I was done, I turned the lights back on and was ready to paint. I was careful to work from top down and left to right so I didn't smudge the wet paint. When it was completely dry, I removed the remaining pencil marks with an eraser and damp rag. And here's my stunning wall feature for only the cost of paint. It really gave this book nook a wow factor and has made 2 boys very happy.
So you're going to need 2 boxes. Now we're going to cut off all of the extra little cardboard pieces, take a pair of jeans that are washed and lay them out. We're going to cut off both of the legs. After that is cut, we're going to go and measure the fabric that's going inside. After those are cut out, let's put some glue in the inner portion. You can use either hot glue or some E6000 glue, and after you have each section glued down, go and cut the corners and then secure it at the sides. So I'm measuring this up now and I'm seeing how much material this is going to go and cover. But at the edge here, I'm going and gluing it down. Now I'm putting some glue onto the box. Let's go and take this and put it down. Go and take off any extra material, but do leave a small amount on the bottom so you can glue this to the bottom. And now let's go and finish off the rest of the box. And while that dries, we're going to go and cut off some of these little tiny pieces for the belt loop, glue these onto the sides. Now we can go and write on the box. Let's go and fill this toys box with some cat toys. And it fits perfectly underneath my cat's scratching post. For my other box, I'm going to use it to go and organize my bathroom closet.